Thank you, Nadia. Some of you will have been on Instagram just then with Nads. There she is in the background getting ready for the curly cooks. Welcome to an unusual live on a Sunday with spectacularly unusual news.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I'm actually going to be over there, guys, because we've got the Curly Cooks of Croydon live at 1 o'clock. But it was incredible news. And I mean, I just want to know, where were you?
Well, the question I want to,
news?
so if you could share with us, where were you when you heard it? Now, it was a very odd state of affairs in here. We'd all come in from the cinema. Nadia had been cleaning. She was in the other room, in the utility room. I'd uncharacteristically fallen asleep on the sofa.
You never do.
And then Nadia, I literally heard Nadia say, "Oh, Simone's just said President Trump has been shot." Of course, at which point my back twinged. I leapt up and went, "What?" Turned on the telly, and there we saw the footage. Where were you? You were in bed, Lynn Sheard. John Dobbins in bed. I was on YouTube last night when the news landed. Saw it on Instagram this morning, says Penny Albertella. Elsa Pop, I was in bed. Melissa Z in bed. Happened early in Australia. Absolutely, must have been. I heard it from Nadia just now on Instagram, says Katie Wilson. So are some of you actually just hearing it now? So this was obviously at, God, that sounded like a choir in the sky. That was bizarre. This is obviously the rally last night or yesterday in Pennsylvania, at which Donald Trump, a shooter, attempted to shoot Donald Trump. Now, I think quite quickly, everyone was trying to say, this is fake, it's been set up, he's got fake blood in his ear, it's a setup and all this kind of stuff. Isn't it amazing how quickly these kind of narratives just take hold? And I have to say, does anyone else find this? It has become a bit of a go-to Twitter, X, for the speed with which news starts to come through. I mean, I feel sorry for CNN and all these news channels. They're chasing social media very, very quickly. And as Nadia kept saying, as the shots rang out, we are going to show it. We did post a short of it last night. As the shots rang out, you saw so many people behind Trump and in front of him filming with their phones. And of course, the question sort of emerges, where's all that footage going? And it's slowly beginning to creep out. MeTube can't believe he took a moment for a photo op. Do you know what? We're going to show some of the stills that were taken. We're going to show the astonishing, well, there's two aspects to the Secret Service's response. On the one hand, we're all watching as civilians an astonishingly choreographed, orchestrated response. But obviously, within the expert world of Secret Service and personnel that look after former presidents and presidents, there's many people saying this was a huge failure. And that, there's accusations of inside jobs. The trending on Twitter is the phrase civil war. There's all sorts of, we're going to share some sort of interesting facts about what's happened to incumbent presidential candidates and presidents when they've been shot or when assassination attempts have happened to them, what happens to their popularity. I think it's a pretty safe bet to say whatever and however this plays out and whatever the rationale behind it and whoever is fundamentally, well, we know who's responsible, they shot the shooter. But once we unpack it, I think Trump has now won the election. I think it's as plain and simple as that. Who agrees? I think this is a staggering moment in the early foothills of what's already been a staggering American presidential campaign that hasn't actually even officially started. The Republican convention is I think it's next week in Milwaukee, and it's where officially Trump will be made the Republican candidate, and officially he will announce his running partner for vice president. All of the stuff swirling around with Biden's inability to talk, inability to string a sentence together, getting everyone wrong, names, etc., etc. And then you've got this developing the next day. Conspiracy theories are already rife. Reese, you were in Peckham last night when the news dropped. Everyone started looking on their phone, even though Biden condemned it. I think it's a pretty gone conclusion. Trump has won. Trump has won the election. And whilst we were all waiting last night, there were so many elements to last night that were quite stressful and worrisome. One of them mainly being, lots of people who don't like Trump are like, well, this is, this, he loves guns. This is what was going to happen. It's lots of people are, quite sort of, I feel quite cavalierly go, well, it's not a surprise. I'm amazed it hasn't happened sooner. Yeah, okay, I get all of that. But the weirdest part of all of it for me was I knew, and I think lots of observers knew, that the longer it took Biden and the White House to respond, the worse this looked. And okay, he responded, and we're going to show his response. But for me, it was a touch too long. Yes, they were waiting to get fully briefed. Yes, they will have been trying to get all the intelligence necessary. But every single step in this is going to be absolutely rinsed and squeezed for everything by the Trump campaign and by those who feel that the political class does not represent them. Now, what we're going to do is, has anyone not seen the footage? Of course, as soon as we show the footage, it's a shooting. So the YouTube kind of, whatever the kind of thing that picks up this kind of stuff will pick it up. But of course, it's only footage that's been gathered from a news source. So just to give a warning, you don't see, and well, you do see blood. You see blood on his head, on his ear. But you do see distress, you do see upset if you're easily triggered. I just want to give a warning. So this is the footage that I believe was, I think I got it from Fox News. Now, this footage, interestingly, from Fox, I found last night, and we were watching it on repeat. And of course, they were kind of, recycling the footage time and time again on CNN. And they'd heavily muted the microphones, heavily. There's a suggestion that the mics are killed for broadcast when he says potentially the F word, fuck you, or fuck off. I think he might have been actually saying fight, maybe. But Nadia wonders whether the CNN were kind of suggesting that as a way to cover his swearing. No. Yeah, I mean, if he was saying fight, they would have played it, right? But anyway. But here it is. I think it's 2 minutes long, but I just wanted to give a warning just before I pop it up.
Thing that said, take a look at what happened.
Hear that screaming.
Moving to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Get ready. You ready?
Okay, we are watching live at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where former President Trump was speaking on the stage. There has been some kind of disturbance that clearly sets law enforcement and Secret Service into motion.
I want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Disturbance that clearly sets law enforcement and Secret Service into motion, immediately jumping around the former president in a protective mode. The crowd has been screaming. They are standing by. You can hear some voices there saying, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go? We are looking at President Trump. This does not look good. I'm going to be honest with you. From what we can see right here, it looks like they are attempting to move him out, that he may have been injured. He is holding up his arm. He is pumping his fist, but clearly Secret Service wants to get.
Really see.
I just wanted to look at this shot here. So at this point here, at that point there, now look, I mean, I can see it in your comments here. So many people saying, on the one hand, we were kind of marveling at the speed with which they seem to come around him. But like a number of saying, you start to unpack it, and you could argue, was it a bit slow? A number of people in the crowd. I'm going to play you an Eyewitness's sort of interview with the BBC, actually, which is quite incredibly revealing and quite telling. I just need to find where it is. Yeah, he was saying, can I get my shoes? He fist pumps. Can I get my shoes? Now, that suggests one of two things. Either he does his speeches not in his shoes, or when he hit the ground, his shoes came off, obviously.
No, there was the medical correspondent
Yeah.
yesterday on CNN was saying it may well have been them checking his body.
Right, got you.
So,
but at that point, I just want to pull that up just again. Let me, as he's taking time to fist pump, regardless of how quickly or slowly or efficiently or not those 5 guys around him and a woman or 2, at that moment, they are all saying or allowing themselves to be shot at. Right there, right then, you think, fucking hell. Yeah, Tez, Trump is the same person that told gun violence victims to get over it. I mean, there is a huge debate to be had. The contrasts, the contradictions, the hypocrisies are vast. But at that moment right there, as he fist pumps, I'm going to show you some photos that Associated Press got. This image now, remember this image, because this image potentially, you know, like those images of, not that, you get images of like from movies of the Civil War and, the 9/11 kind of catastrophe. This image right now is the image of the incoming election. To have got that photograph with the flag, with a woman Secret Service officer, with the guy with the men in black shades, with Trump with blood on his face, with his fist in the air, you could not have designed for his campaign a stronger propaganda image or, promotional image in a sense than that. It's already like a painting. It's an astonishing photo. And when you go back to the footage on the wider shot, you can see, look down on the bottom right. See the guy there? That guy there, bottom right, or very, very bottom right, lower down, those 2 photographers there have possibly just taken photographs that will define an entire era of American politics. Because, yes, I think a lot of people will be thinking, okay, well, yeah, this is dramatic. It's Donald Trump. We're not surprised. He's not JFK. He didn't get shot. But the implications, as many people here know, I know we've got a lot of Americans here, a lot of people plugged into American politics. When on Twitter, things that are trending are things like Civil War, inside job. This is it. We're looking. It's a campaign poster. Absolutely, Michu. This is like, come and vote for me. Now, interesting statistic. When Reagan, do you remember when Reagan, there was the assassination attempt on Reagan? I forgot that the shooter with Reagan. Do you know why they shot Reagan? They were trying to get Jodie Foster's attention. Do you remember? They were obsessed with Jodie Foster. Anyway, when they shot, or when there was the assassination attempt on Reagan, his popularity bounced by 8% in the polls. 8%. This will supercharge Trump. And if you think about it, everything about Biden bumbling around, getting things wrong, in the simplistic head, I'm not saying all are, but in the sort of very simple kind of optics of a kind of voter's head, who may have been wavering a bit with Trump, to see man survives violence that many people are going to be suggesting as an inside job, versus man who can't get names right, bumbling around. What do Americans generally go for? They go for strength. They go for nationalism. And what have you got in that image? What have you got in that image? You've got, media studies lecturers would probably say this has to be an AI image. There's too many aspects of this photograph that are perfectly calibrated. It's quite, from a photographic perspective, an astonishing image. I can't say it enough. I cannot say it enough. If you were a media studies lecturer, you would be saying, that ain't real. Anyway, I'm going to show you some of the other astonishing photos from the event. This is him as they're obviously checking his body. Of course, tragically, one has to remind ourselves, he's obviously, something has struck his ear. There was talk at one point that it was shattered glass that had hit his ear. At another point, there was the suggestion, could it have been, I hate to use this phrase, but splashback from someone else who'd been hit? Someone else at the event took a bullet, and there is an interview. I haven't got it here, but there is an interview, I think, again, with the BBC, with a chap who was a medic of some form who tried to help him. And he said that he was, brain matter was coming out of the victim's head. So at this point, we're in these close photographs. There he is there. looking old. I mean, again, it speaks to the similar thing with Biden. Whatever you think of him, here is a it must have been a huge shock. I mean, to have the self-possession after having nearly had your brains blown out, to pump the air and say fight or fuck it. I mean, that is going to speak to so many people who are looking for some kind of... Pardon?
Shows us again.
Shows us again. There's a disconnect, you know, I mean, yeah. So, you know, it's the... here we go. This is an astonishing shot from Associated Press on the back. The guys have got them down on the floor. Now, there's a lot. I'm going to show you the interview that the BBC did with a witness, Eyewitness, which is already being used to kind of suggest that the Secret Service was slow. Inside Job has been trending. There's another shot.
What do you think about that, Mark?
I think at this point, I'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah. It's all right. No, I'm just showing this photo. So I think literally you can see from his mouth he's saying shoes. Get me my shoes. This is him as he's bundled away into the car. A little bit later, I'm going to show you. This is the moment that look at the Secret Service guy jumping again. These guys jumping on them to kind of. It's Men in Black, isn't it? It's this moment was reminding me of the Alex Garland film Civil War, and I hate to use that word Civil War, but already across the globe, people are blaming left-wing bias and the left-wing media for creating a tinderbox that could create this. There's going to be a repetition of some images here. Now, here should be a warning. Now, here are some of the rally attenders. See the guy with the UA T-shirt with the blood on his shirt there? He was attending to, and you can see that just behind this barrier here, and there's a photographer or a guy in a blue shirt looking urgently towards the camera. Just down there is where one of the victims died, which suggests it could have been blood from this person. Because if you look, they're diagonally to the back and to the right of Trump. They are saying, I mean, if you look at the moment that he gets struck, and I'm just going to bring this up again just for a moment. Look at the beginning here. He does have his head at a different angle. He does turn around a lot. So when he actually gets struck there, see how he's got his head to the right? But the suggestion is that the shooter is up to his right there. So some more images here. Now, I'm going to play you this interview with the BBC. This is interesting.
And listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know. But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he...
Wow. So as this gets now, you can see how, if there's going to be a feeling that the Secret Service didn't respond, or that there was a slowness or a sluggishness in response, that will feed again the idea that this is some kind of hit job or inside job. I'm just going to show you this other angle on the moment.
Million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I personally think it's one of the most worrying developments there is. I mean, yeah. Has Trump posted? I'm going to play you Biden's response. It took a while for Biden to respond. You know, in defense, you could say they were waiting to get the full information.
Been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that the people and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must.
It's a sort of fumbling condemnation, isn't it? It's a sort of non-urgent. I don't know. There's just something. He should have said nothing. He should have issued a statement as he did. Sort of getting distracted in old man fashion with the details of whether it would be convenient for all of the journalists. I mean, come on. So an awful lot. In fact, the most commonly talked about aspect on social media last night was the slowness or the speed with which the White House made any statement or had anything to say about what was happening. This is some footage here. Let me just turn the. This is the last footage. This is Trump being flown. I'm not too sure where he was landing. This was after the event. So he is well. I don't know what the extent of the damages to his ear, whether it was actually, whether he was hit or whether it was indeed, if you like, sort of splashback or, blood from someone else or even kind of shattered glass from something. I'm just going to go back to some of the photos that we were looking at. Now, this image that I'm just about to show you is of the Secret Service standing over the lifeless body of the shooter. You cannot see too much detail, but you can see enough. There you go. That's where as they say, neutralized him. He was 130 meters away on the top of a sort of warehouse. By all accounts, the shooter had been arguing and shouting and remonstrating with security guards at the actual structure that he was going into at the car park. So there is evidence and there's CCTV footage of him actually, having an argument with security personnel. So there's a lot pointing towards the fact that it was known that he was there. This is the Secret Service. This is, I think, is this Hawkeye?
Shouting Hawkeye, yeah.
Yeah, Hawkeye being the. I thought it said Hawkeye hit, but I think they were saying Hawkeye is here. Hawkeye being the team that took him out, or the sort of the immediate security personnel. This is the FBI who have cordoned off the property of the shooter. And what do we know about the shooter? The shooter has been identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old. Curious detail about him in terms of his politics. Records show that he was registered as a Republican voter in Pennsylvania, but federal campaign finance reports show that he gave $15 to a progressive political action committee on the 20th of January, 2021, the day Biden was sworn into office. Now, I think the easy thing, you look at that just as sort of a headline and you go, oh, he was a Republican voter. He was a Republican voter. It was part of the Republican Party. Again, if for those who feel Hawkeye, they may well change that name now, Miju. That feels a bit too obviously convenient that he was a kind of disenfranchised Republican voter that took out Trump. Do you get me? I mean, I'm not for a minute wanting to get into the kind of issues of conspiracy theories and hit jobs and who's done what. I mean, the thing is, it's going to have been motivated by something. And there are some suggestions on Twitter. There are some images of a second individual who may have well assisted him. There was a moment in the fracas where there was a fear and a worry or a suggestion that there could have been two shooters, but that's not been confirmed. This image here, which we popped up on Coffee Moaning last night, this is an astonishing image. This is Donald Trump on the ground at the lectern. That's his tie. Obviously, that's blood coming down the side of his face with his hand on the floor. This is the crowd behind him. That was the moment he shot. You see, he's got his head turned to the right, just wondering if his head was forward, looking forward, depending on the angle. It would have got a cleaner shot on his head. Interestingly, I mean, you can see the blood, but you can't necessarily see sort of damage to the ear. We've seen some of these before. Incredibly dramatic. Incredibly dramatic. Did he have to be? He didn't get into the rally, Faith Goodman. So, of course, all of the issues around how did he get in? He didn't get in. He was on a building outside the rally. He was on a building outside the rally. So quite an astonishing set of affairs. So So the question is, A, where were you? B, I think this is going to absolutely supercharge his candidacy first and his win. So I think whether it's Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Biden, I don't think it's going to make a jot of difference. The interesting thing about the shooter, I mean, I suppose you've got to shoot the shooter, haven't you? I was going to ask the question, couldn't they have got him? Because we're now never going to fully know, are we? But I'm sure this story is going to rumble and rumble and rumble. I personally, again, let's just have a quick look at what's trending on Twitter at the moment. The worry for me is the destabilization of America. And a number of leaders, so the president or prime minister of the Netherlands has already said it's the left-wing media, it's the woke political class, and the climate and sort of atmosphere of anti-right or anti-populist right politics is what's causing the breakdown of society in a sense. So left won't get another chance now. They messed up. Okay, I'm going to ask a sort of a leader. Who thinks this is going to have been some kind of, when I say inside job, if it's an inside job, who thinks that, really? Was there a strategy behind this? Are people going to really think that it would be as obvious as, the Democrats are ambling around so badly that someone would be mobilized to shoot Trump? Was he a stand-in? 20 years old? How political could he? I mean, I'm not suggesting 20-year-olds aren't political, but, was he old enough to have been a Republican and been disenfranchised that quickly? I don't know. Blaster Master, something is fishy. Why would a right-winger donate to a progressive group after Biden has already won the election on the day he's been inaugurated? It's funny you should say that. That was my first thing. When I read that it was said he was a Republican Party member who had just stepped slightly towards Biden, it all felt a bit too, that's going to be what we explore. And we saw Longlegs last night. So investigating a crime, it felt a bit too convenient, didn't it? Felt a bit too convenient. What have we got here? He read in Reuters that it's confirmed an AR-15. The woke left doesn't want guns. The woke left wants discourse. Trump brought all of this to the world stage. It just doesn't. Yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't strike me as the apt and the way that the woke left would deal with this. I don't know. Lone wolf. But the point is, all that we know is that this image is going to be everywhere. This image is of the next incoming president of the United States. And my concern now is this. When he wins, which he will,
We don't know that.
Well,
Could go the other way.
When he wins, okay, let's for the sake of argument's sake, and if he wins, let's just for a moment imagine the autocratic approach he may take to anyone who opposes him now that he's had an attempt on his life. You know, how is he going to, let's not forget, Trump is the master spin maker. He turns everything into huge fuel, rocket fuel for himself. So what is he going to do with this? And in a weird way, whilst we're all waiting for Biden to stumble out and get a name right, we're all kind of waiting to really hear what Donald Trump does with this. So that's kind of where we're at. Anyway, I'm sure we'll see you tomorrow. We're also going to see you for the Curly Cooks later. But guys, share your thoughts. 1 o'clock live. Share your thoughts below. Keep the conversation going. Any bits of news, share with us. And we'll obviously be picking this up again in Coffee Moaning tomorrow. All right, guys, stay safe. See you later. Okay, bye.